Hi there, I'm Dr. Lynda Shaw, and I'm very proud to say that I'm on the board of trustees for a charity called FND Dimensions. Now, I'm really keen to support these people, so I thought today what I would like to do in my capacity of helping raise funds through corporate funding is to interview the founder and CEO, who is called Steve Webster. Hi, Steve, how are you doing?
Hi Linda, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. We're looking forward to the start of 2024. In fact, if I'm honest, I actually think I'm going to start with the Chinese New Year because I really don't feel quite ready for 2024. So I
Yeah,
might
I know that
delay
one. Yes, yeah.
it. I might delay it for a couple of weeks. Anyway, Steve, we're going to make this short and sharp so that our viewers and listeners can get really understand what FND Dimensions is all about.
Great.
So, can you first tell us what is FND?
FND stands for functional neurological disorder, which is a bit of a mouthful, but it's effectively where there is a problem with how the brain and the nervous system is functioning. So the basic wiring of the brain is intact, but there is an issue with how the brain is then sending messages from all that connectivity that goes on within the brain to and from different parts of the body. And that results in a whole host of physical and sensory disabling factors. So structurally, it's in place physically, but there are issues going on with those signals.
That's a really clear description. Thank you. So why did you actually start FND Dimensions Charity?
Oh gosh, trying to be a bit more succinct with that is quite difficult, but I'll be as quick as I can. My FND started off following some back surgery I had. If you go back to 2006, I was struggling quite a lot. Between 2006 and 2012, I spent quite a lot of time in hospital. About a year of that 6 year period, yeah, actually in hospital myself, on neurological wards and rehab, etc. And that followed a spinal issue I had. And from that, then came about the FND symptoms that I got. And during that time, I met a lot of people who had similar symptoms while I was in hospital. And then when sort of physiotherapy, etc., carried on in the community afterwards, I still kept meeting more people who had similar issues, etc., but they had nowhere to go to, no one to talk to. They were blind alleys all the way. And I was out of work at this stage. I'd had to quit my job, lost my career, and I felt that, well, because of the process I'd gone through in that period of time, which was pretty involved, and I got to know the health system quite well, um, I felt I could do something about it. And I felt I could at least listen to people and I would understand where they were coming from. And I often found myself in that position just by chance, meeting people in a waiting room to go into a joint physio session or something. And that's where it all stemmed from, really. That was nearly 11 years ago, and yeah, here we are, growing still all the time. And um, yeah, it started off with just me, and then another couple of people joined on, and we got charity status just over 7 years ago, and we've been growing ever since.
Well, I happen to know that you're doing it amazingly well, Steve. You've pioneered a fantastic charity that is growing and it's helping so many people. So well done to you.
Thank
It,
you.
it is fantastic. But what I want to know is it possible to get FND anytime, anywhere? Is it possible, for instance, to get FND from perhaps a head injury? I mean, explain how somebody who's perfectly healthy might succumb to something like this.
It's a good question, and if I could explain that in full, I'd be a very well-paid consultant working at some top hospital. As it is, I'm a lowly paid CEO working for a charity, but um, yes, you can get FND from a head injury. Obviously, if for someone who suffers a head injury, then there is obviously physical damage to the brain. So the likelihood of getting something like FND is much more common. Um, but it can come about through other factors as well. So, as I said for myself, Mine came about as a result of spinal surgery I had, which resulted then in the FND type symptoms. For other people, it's happened as a result of maybe a viral infection. Um, and for other people, there doesn't seem to be any explanation whatsoever. They're healthy, they're happy, maybe, set up in life quite well, whatever. And one morning they wake up and suddenly, wham, one part of their body isn't moving. The messages aren't getting through. They may lose their speech. Uh, all sorts of things like that. And so it really can hit anybody out of the blue. And it becomes extremely, say, disabling, but also isolating at the same time. People's lives are thrown completely into disarray. Um, Family members suddenly become carers rather than, uh, you know, the general type, whether it be a wife, a husband, a partner of any description, a brother, a sister, a grandparent. Their roles change, and it just really disrupts life just phenomenally. Um,
It's astonishing to think that somebody wakes up in the morning and they can't speak or they can't move out of the blue.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
really, really, how frightening must that be?
that's
Uh,
right. And then when tests are done, and I say they don't find anything, no lesions on the brain or anything like that, it's just this connectivity issue. Solving an issue like that can't be done overnight, and it
no.
requires a multidisciplinary team to get it right. Um, but that's difficult, and that's an issue.
I can only imagine. But you know what I really, really get cross about is when people are not heard or they're misdiagnosed, or even worse, they're not believed that there is something the matter. And I know that sometimes happens with people with FND. Can you talk a bit about that, please?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it is a big issue. One of the biggest problems is that, as you say, patients are quite often not believed. They're often given they get seen, but they're given a prescription for a website as a website of a website address, neurosymptoms.org quite often, which is one which has been written by a neurological doctor, and told to go away, have a look at the website, and get on with it. And that's their prescription. Other patients who might be a bit more lucky get to see certain individuals, but they're often battered between neurological and psychological services and not sticking anywhere because one says, oh, it should be the other that should be treating them, not me. And then where services do exist, but those services are few and far between, it's very much a postcode lottery. The waiting lists are huge. More and more people are getting diagnosed with FND, um, but there aren't the doctors there to support them. And we're quite lucky in this country. We have some of the best FND brains in the world in this country that support patients,
Okay.
but they are few and far between. And um, patients, I say, they go onto waiting lists, funding comes to an end, that waiting list suddenly disappears. And during that time, they're left alone. And that's where the charity sector comes in because we can provide that support. We can link them with other patients. They're with people who understand and get it. So that isolation disappears. And we have people come onto calls and things because we do face-to-face meetups and online meetups because a lot of people can't leave the home because of the physical symptoms they're left with. And the first thing they do is burst into tears because it's the first time they've met somebody else with the condition, FND. And just that relief they feel, as I say, it quite often ends up with people in tears because it's just, oh, at last moment, finally someone who gets it.
Oh goodness me. You guys are doing such phenomenal work. You really are. And as you say, this can happen to anyone at any time. So I think to raise awareness is one thing, but you're being proactive and actually doing something to help support people whilst they're poorly with FND. Does FND get better?
It can do with the right treatment. The earlier it's like anything, I suppose, the earlier it's caught, the better. And the sooner the treatment can be put in place, the better. But FND can have a very variable nature. People can be well one day and then maybe do a bit too much or whatever, and then be knocked off their feet for the next 3 or 4 days. But yes, I mean, people do improve. People do get worse with it as well, and their symptoms, decline. Um, and for some, that can be quite a long-term thing. And I say that's very disruptive to life in general. So yes, with the right treatment, but as I say, accessing that treatment is very difficult.
Okay, let's get down to the crux of it. We need money, right? We need money for these teams of people. And I know that nobody's earning any money. This is very much a voluntary thing, apart from there's a little strip end that you're getting. But so there isn't, this is whatever people spend their money on when they're supporting FND Dimensions, 90% of it goes to where it should be going. Can you give us a clue, please, as to what you need money for and how much you need for a few things, just to give the viewers and listeners an idea of how they can help us?
Oh gosh, right, yeah. I mean, it ranges from a few pounds a month potentially to obviously thousands of pounds. Um, there are things, simple things that we do like our daily operations. So it might be paying for a Zoom account. We have one currently, but actually, with the amount of stuff we're currently doing on Zoom and online, because of the nature of the condition and how it affects people, um, it would probably be worth as well having at least one more Zoom account, which would allow us to do more. It could be paying for our insurance each year. Fortunately, our insurance isn't astronomical or anything like that. We're not offering medical advice. That's a big disclaimer we have from the start. It's peer support. So that means the risk on us is much less as an organisation. So £500 would cover the insurance for the year, roughly, something like that. Um, um, Again, a few £100 here and there covers the costs of producing our leaflets that we can send out to members and we can send out to doctor surgeries, to hospitals, etc. So where there are clinics and where patients are being seen and diagnosed, if there isn't the support that should be in place there through the health service, then at least there's a leaflet the doctor can give them and say, here's an organisation that can help you. Um, and then it's potentially for events. We often get a lot of outside speakers come in, sometimes who charge, sometimes who do it as pro bono. But it's all about allowing our members to get educated in things that are related to the condition. So it might be on benefits, it might be to do with nutrition, it might be to do with a certain medical treatment, alternative sort of medicines. So we're looking at osteopathy, that sort of thing. And those things can sort of cost, and obviously then it generates more work and things. And then right through to really core funding, like any charity. As I said, we've been going just over 7 years now, and for that time, as a charity, we've operated on a shoestring. You've already alluded to the fact that everybody is a volunteer, including me, and that's not sustainable really for any organization. Or if it was a business, we'd have gone out of business ages ago. We just want to survive. So we rely on people's goodwill and people giving their time, which is a very precious thing. But as we grow and we continue to grow, particularly at the rate we're growing at the moment, that's not sustainable. And we need that core funding, so we can continue to grow in a good, productive way that's secure, just like any charity wants. But the thing is with FND, it's often not classed as sort of sexy enough. It's not well known. The awareness isn't out there, and you know, when you apply for grants and things like that, you're competing against other big organisations, um, and they're the safe bets. Because they're well established. They've already got hundreds of thousands of pounds in the bank, which we certainly don't have. although we're very careful with the way we use the money we have and the way that we operate, we always make sure that we've um, got funding there to back us up for a good period of time. Um, but that say does limit the amount we can do. Um, so yeah, there's a whole raft of things that we could talk to people about if they're interested in supporting us. And we very much see that as a partnership with anybody who comes on board. It's not just about us taking, it's about what we can offer back to the members of staff who maybe work for that company, whether that's just a half-hour talk on raising awareness of FND, or there might be somebody within that company who's actually got symptoms that think, wait a minute, I, that sounds like me, and that can often quite regularly as well. So there's an awful lot that can be a two-way process, it's say, and that's important. It has to be about a partnership.
That's really lovely. So partnerships, sponsorship, funding, because no matter how much, is all money is welcome. Can you tell us, please, how we do that? How do people actually get in touch with you? How do people donate?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of ways. There's a simple one where we can simply give you our bank details and you can make a nice payment. Thank you very much. We have a funding platform on something called GoodHub, which used to be called Invest My Community, where people can donate, and that allows people also to add gift aid as well, which means we get an extra 25% from the HMRC, which is great. Or they can just contact me through my email address, which I know we're going to make available at the end of this video. And if they want to get in contact, have a conversation, then more than happy to do that.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Steve. And listen, if you're listening to this, if you are interested, if you're wondering what you're going to do with your corporate funding responsibility and all of those lovely words that we need so badly, please consider FND Dimensions. And thank you so much for listening. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.